All
Do you think
right.
it's a good time to shout out another sponsor?
Yeah, well, since we have Grant from nonprofit Megaphone here, let's do Grant's shout out as well. So I think I have that pulled up for later too, because nonprofit Megaphone is also sponsoring our
Mhm.
nonprofit performance showcase. So that's going to be
Yes.
super awesome and I can't wait for it.
Good.
So just a little bit more about nonprofit Megaphone. Jenna, if you want to do the quick.
Yeah, so nonprofit Megaphone. So um, the Google Ad Grant gives 501c3 nonprofit organizations $10,000 each month to spend on ads in Google search. And this allows you to reach the thousands of people that are searching for your organization and work online. So as a Google grant, oh, um, as a Google Grant certified professional agency, nonprofit Megaphone knows how to keep you in compliance with the ever-changing Google policies and regulations. So if you don't have a Google Grant yet, nonprofit Megaphone will get you approved and then create, maintain, and optimize your ad campaigns. So yeah, we're gonna pop in the nonprofit Megaphone link in the chat just to follow their organization. And yeah, super excited for our next speaker. So Grant Hensel is the CEO at nonprofit Megaphone. He is devoted to helping nonprofits utilize the $10,000 a month Google Ad Grant. And he's honored to support 440 plus nonprofits all over the world. So he is working for your organization to help share your story with the world. So welcome, Grant.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having us. And I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully this works. Thanks, everyone. Excited to chat, as Jenna mentioned, about the Google Ad Grant. I will get the joke out of the way right away. My name is Grant. And yes, it is ironic that I work with the Google Ad Grant. Our entire team of 45 people makes fun of me for that every day. So you are welcome to as well. But as we get started, I have two quick sort of survey questions, which I would love for people to fill out in the chat if you'd like. Yes, pun very intended. How familiar are you with the Google Ad Grant? And feel free to just put your answer into the chat and we'll get a sense. Okay. This is fantastic. Trying to get a average. Let's see. Okay, looks like most people are in the somewhat to not at all, but we definitely have some people in the familiar. I think I've seen at least one very familiar. Perfect. Okay, this is fantastic. And then that gives us a really good sense for this. And then second question, is your organization using the Google Ad Grant? And you could say no, used to, just getting started, whatever you'd like. Okay, mostly no's, a few just getting started. Tiffany, to answer your question, yes, the Google Grant is available in Canada as well, and a number of other countries. Cool. Okay, excellent. Thank you, everyone. I love these. I love everyone sharing in the chat. This is awesome. So, and Madeline, we will get to your question momentarily. So we'll give a really quick overview. We'll talk about what the Google Grant is, how it can help your organization, how do you get it, and then what are some of the tips and tricks for making the most of it. I think that the Google Ad Grant is the most, like, there are the most myths floating around about it of any of any sort of marketing thing in the nonprofit world. So we will try and dispel some of those and give you a sense for, is it a good fit for you and how can you utilize it really effectively? So as mentioned, once again, the Google Ad Grant gives you $10,000 a month of credit to spend on ads in Google search. It's almost like a gift card that can be spent on Google Ads. So it's not like physical money, it's a credit. And this is how it works. So this is an example of a client that we work with that is called the COPD Foundation. COPD is a respiratory ailment, and they help with research and support for people with that condition. And so the way the Google Grant works, and Google Ads in general, the way that they work, is that people type something into Google, and because we love jargon, we call these keywords. So in this search, the keywords were, do I have COPD? And the cool thing about Google Ads is that they're targeted based on intent. It's almost like mind reading. So if you're advertising on Facebook or other platforms, you're typically targeting based on demographics or people who've already been to your website. With Google, you're targeting based on what people are typing into Google search, and that is what they are thinking about at the exact moment. And so you don't know, and you don't really care about the demographics of this person, but you know that right now they are interested in trying to figure out if they have this condition. And so that is a perfect person for this organization to reach and to be helpful to. So someone searches that, this ad that we wrote shows up right at the top, which is awesome. And if people click on this, they're taken to a specific page on the COPD Foundation's website that allows them to take a free screening tool, like a free screening assessment. And hundreds or probably thousands at this point of people have taken this. And I'm sure like lives have been actually changed in a really meaningful way as a result of this ad, which is crazy that ads could do something like that, because it's connecting people to the information that they need when they need it. So this is how it works. Ads in Google search based on keywords that you choose and showing ad text that you can write and taking people to your website. One thing that we like to mention is that if you have multiple websites, you can use them both, or however many you have, with the Google grant, as long as you own the domain. So Rotary Foundation, Rotary International has rotary.org, and they also have endpolio.org, and they can use both of them because they own both of those domains and promote each of them. You can't promote a domain that you don't own. So like you couldn't send people to your YouTube page or, you know, like a volunteer match page or something like that. It would have to be a domain that your organization owns. Another fun thing that we like to share is that you've probably heard of SEO, like search engine optimization, and then you've probably heard of potentially PPC, which stands for pay-per-click advertising. And the Google grant is a form of pay-per-click advertising. But the way that we think about it is that SEO, so search engine optimization, is the art and science of getting these links to rank organically. So like Wikipedia ranks very highly. This is an organic search result. It's not an ad. You can see that there's no little ad next to it. And Wikipedia, you know, and CNN have done optimizations to try and get their websites to rank really high organically. And that's very effective if you have a lot of time to spend. It takes a really long time. CNN, you know, Wikipedia, these reputations took decades to build. On the other hand, paid ads, where you're paying with real money, are extremely fast and also extremely expensive. And the Google Ad Grant is kind of, in some ways, a best of both worlds, where it is very fast. It lets you get right to the top of a search results page, but it also doesn't cost money. And that is what this organization, which is called America's Vet Dogs, they train service dogs. And they actually trained the service dog, whose name was Sully, who accompanied former President George H.W. Bush in the last months of his life. And after the former president passed away, many people were searching for Sully the service dog, and America's Vet Dogs was able to create a page really quickly and then promote it with the Google grant to get right to the top of this sort of emerging news story. And they got like lots and lots of people requesting to be volunteers, requesting speakers, like lots of different things happened as a result of that. So this is kind of a cool way to almost like jump to the front of the line when there is some sort of current event thing that's happening that relates to your organization. Okay, so those are just a few examples of how it works really tactically. Let's talk about eligibility quickly. The good news is that the vast majority of nonprofits are eligible. In the United States, if you're a 501c3 nonprofit, so specifically a C3, and you're not a government agency, a hospital, or a school, as long as you're not one of those three things, then you are eligible, which is wonderful. That's like 99% of all nonprofits in the United States. And the Google grant is also available in dozens of countries as well. And if you go to google.com/grants, there's a list of countries. It's quite a few. the other interesting thing about the Google grant is that it's not like a traditional grant. If you are eligible and you apply correctly, you will receive it. We have 450 something client, 460 something clients. We've gotten the Google grant for many of them. We have 100% success rate. And partially that's because we know what we're doing, but also it's partially because like if you do it right, you will be successful. I'm going to show a really quick slide that shows the process. I believe these slides will be distributed, so don't feel like you have to memorize this, but I'll just share it really quickly to give you a sense of what the process looks like. So the Google Ad Grant is applied for within a tool called Google for Nonprofits. And many organizations are already a member of Google for Nonprofits. It's just google.com/nonprofits. If you have G Suite or like a Gmail type email interface, but it's at your organization's domain, if it's like your name at yournonprofit.org, and when you log into your email, it kind of looks like Gmail, you probably are using G Suite for Nonprofits, which gives you that for free. And that means that you already have a Google for Nonprofits account. Somewhere, someone in the organization created a Google for Nonprofits account back in the day, and they can hopefully add you to it. Once you're into Google for Nonprofits, you just have to make sure that you have Google Analytics installed on your website and that you have some form of conversion tracking set up, which we'll talk about, and then you're ready to go through the process of applying. If you don't have a Google for Nonprofits account, Google uses a platform called TechSoup, which many of you are probably familiar with, and they're international. In some countries outside the US, it's also TechSoup. In others, it's a different international partner. TechSoup is what Google uses to verify your nonprofit status. And so many organizations are also already registered with TechSoup, in which case they can just log in and you can get a validation token, which is almost like a one-time password that you put in to activate your Google for Nonprofits account. If you're not yet registered, you can just register. It'll take like it's pretty quick. You'll receive your validation token, and then you can go back to Google for Nonprofits. Again, this slide, I believe, will be shared, so don't feel like you have to memorize it. But just to give you a sense, those are the two main entities, Google for Nonprofits and TechSoup, if you don't already have Google for Nonprofits. And happy to answer more questions about that in the Q&A. So that's the process. You go through, you get the Google grant, you're approved, you get a very happy email that says, you've been approved for the Google Ad Grant, you now have $10,000 a month of credit to deploy to promote your organization. And so the question then is, what do I want to do with it? What are the goals that I'm trying to accomplish? And here are a few examples of some organizations that we're honored to work with that are doing really well. And there are hundreds more that I can share also. So these are just a few. One really big goal with the Google grant is using it to drive awareness of your organization's existence and of maybe the services that you provide. So this is an organization called Penmar Human Services that supports people with intellectual disabilities. They use the Google grant to tell their community about the services that they offer. Someone's searching something related to those services, their ads show up, and people can be taken to their website and learn more. Another classic example, and it's nice that the world is slowly returning to normal and in-person events are becoming a thing again. Selling tickets is a great use of the Google grant as well. Symphonies, orchestras, performing arts organizations, theaters, and also zoos, aquariums, museums, anything where there's YMCAs. It's not really a ticket, but anything where there's some sort of performance or event happening, the Google grant can be a great way to reach people and drive ticket sales. Sharing thought leadership is another really big one. UNCF is an awesome organization that gives hundreds of millions of dollars in scholarships to students at historically Black colleges and universities. And they have a lot of research on thought leadership to share about the impact the HBCUs make economically, socially, and they're able to use the Google grant to get that out to a much broader audience. Events. This is sort of a fun one. You can use the Google grant to promote your fundraising events, or especially if you have things like 5Ks that people just look for. Are there 5Ks near me? Or who has a 5K this weekend. So that can be a great use. It can also be a fun use if you have event space. You can, this organization is a botanic garden that people can use their space for events or weddings. And they use the Google Grant to advertise that, which drives revenue and helps them support the community that they offer for the public. Engaging donors. This is a fun one, and we'll talk about this in a little bit of detail. Not that many people, unfortunately, Google, I have too much money and I need to get rid of it. I wish they did, and we're not quite there yet. But some people are searching for things like need to donate refrigerator free pickup or something like that, in-kind donations. So this is an organization called Habitat for Humanity Restore. They do offer free pickup services for household appliances, which they then sort of clean up and sell to fund their operations at Habitat for Humanity. And they use the Google Grant very effectively to reach the whole surrounding area. This is in North Carolina. And anytime someone wants to donate something, they can easily schedule an appointment. Habitat for Humanity Restore will come pick it up. And they drive tens of thousands of dollars of in-kind donations through that, which is fantastic. We'll talk a little bit more about driving traditional monetary donors. One of the things that's important to think about with the Google Grant is that oftentimes people that are clicking on these ads have never heard of your organization before, and this is their first introduction to you, which is fantastic. And it's often more productive to think about, how do you build a relationship with this person such that they get more emotionally involved and then are ready to donate, as opposed to hoping that they will donate right off the bat. It's, in some ways, it's like proposing marriage on the first date. Someone may need some time to get to know you, and we think tools like having them sign up for your email list or follow you on social media or engage with you in some ongoing way can be really productive for building new donors over time. Okay, and then last one, attracting visitors. We sort of talked about this, but aquariums, museums, zoos, etc. Bringing in visitors, any type of destination, anything that people might want to see if they're traveling to a location, the Google Grant can be great to use. And there's 1,000 other uses as well, but these are just a few fun ones. Okay, so now we have a sense of our goals. Now let's talk through, what does it look like to build out an account within Google Ads? And there are a couple different levels of account organization. The top level is campaigns, and then under campaigns, there are ad groups. And within ad groups, there are ads and keywords, and we'll have a visual for this. But to begin, for this example, let's pretend that we are a humane society. And one of our primary goals is we want people to adopt the animals that we have in our humane society. And so we will create a campaign within Google Ads, which we'll call Adopt Animals. And we, as an organization, have two types of animals available for adoption, cats and dogs. As you probably know, people that like cats and people that like dogs are different audiences. They each, believe strongly in the rightness of their cause. And we should appeal to them differently in our ad groups and in our ads. We shouldn't just say like adopt an animal. If someone searches adopt a cat, we know that they want to adopt a cat. We should show them an ad that's all about cats, and we should take them to a page on our website that's all about cats. So within each of these ad groups, we can put different keywords, so things that people might be searching for that we'd want to trigger ads. So like adopt dogs, adoptable dogs near me, dog adoption, and so forth. And then we'll also create ads. Under the Google Grant sort of best practices, which you basically have to follow. It's like Google says, here's all this money. All we ask is that you follow the best practices. One of the best practices is that each campaign should have multiple ad groups in it. And another is that each ad group should have multiple ads. And this lets the ads compete against each other and have sort of the winner end up getting more of the traffic. And it ends up getting you more people to your website overall, letting them compete and sort of be split tested against each other. So multiple ads. In each case, for example, ads 1 and 2, these will be all about dogs, and ads 3 and 4 will be all about cats. And as we continue to build out the account, we're just continuing to add more and more ad groups of different things that people might be searching for. So if an account is a little bit younger, maybe you have 3 campaigns and 3 ad groups in each of them. And as you get more mature, maybe someday you have 6 campaigns and each of them have 9 or 10 ad groups, each ad group targeting a really narrowly defined set of related keywords with ads that are just beautifully paired based on relevance to those particular keywords. We have some clients that we've been working with for years that have now hundreds of ad groups in their account, all sort of reaching different sets of keywords. The way that we encourage people to think about this is that you can imagine that Google is like a huge wide open field. And in the field, there are many little ponds and pools of water. And each of those pools are like little related sets of keywords. So here are all the people looking to adopt a cat. Here are all the people looking to adopt a dog. Here are the people looking to adopt an animal and they don't really care if it's a cat or a dog. Here are the people that are interested in adopting a pet. And so they're phrasing it slightly differently. Over time, you want to have coverage of each of those different little pools. It's almost like you're fishing in 1,000 different small lakes, and you're doing it in a way that's really relevant to the particular fish in that particular pond. I don't know if that analogy works for everyone, but that's one of the ways that I like to think about it. So that is how accounts look as they build maturity. They're reaching an increasingly large number of ponds. Okay, we will now turn to another fun topic, which is website readiness and the Google grant. So feel free to throw this in the chat again. If you had to guess, how ready is your website to make the Google grant successful? Just open fire. Okay, not sure, somewhat, not very. I think we're ready. All caps, love that. Not sure, very. Okay, we have a pretty good dispersion here. I think we're probably getting close to a bell curve. This is awesome. And if you do have questions, feel free to throw them in the Q&A, just because they will probably get lost in the chat, but in the Q&A, they will not get lost. Okay, fantastic. Thank you. These are great, 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 great answers. One of the things that was really mysterious to us, we've been helping nonprofits manage the Google grant for about 5.5, almost 6 years now. And at the very beginning, some organizations that we worked with would do really well, and they'd get a lot of people to their website and it would be great. And other organizations did not do very well. And it was quite mysterious. And what we realized that the difference was that some organizations had websites that were really ready for the Google grant and some did not. And that ultimately had a really big role to play in dictating success and failure. So one of the things to think about, if we go back to our pond analogy, is that people are searching for the things that they are interested in, not necessarily the things that you are interested in, unfortunately. And for example, every nonprofit would love it if there was a huge pond of people searching for, I have a lot of money and I want to give it to an organization in X cause area in X geography. And those X's were specifically you. Sadly, the number of people searching that is virtually zero. And so you could write ads for it, but no one would see them because they're not searching for the keywords. And so no one would come to your website, and so nothing would happen. So it's all about reaching the audience where they are at. And if we think about our example with the Humane Society, if someone wants to adopt a dog, some people will search adopt a dog, but other people will be searching other things, and maybe they'll be searching things related to questions that they have in their minds. So some people might be considering adopting a dog, but they're not sure if it's expensive or they're not sure if they can afford it. Other people are worried about time. They're worried that, they don't have enough time to do it, or they don't have enough time to have a pet. Other people maybe are worried about, is there someone nearby that they could go to? Other people just want to be really prepared. They're trying to think about what they need to do in advance. And all of these people, you could come up with great keywords. Let's say a lot of people were searching for, and I'm making this up, but like cost to adopt a dog. And let's say that wasn't listed anywhere on your website. If you ran an ad on the keyword cost to adopt a dog, and you could have an ad that said like, find out the cost to adopt a dog, Google can basically tell that you're not answering the question on your website, because a lot of people will probably click on your ad, come to your site, and then say, oh, the answer isn't here, and they'll hit the back button. And that is a signal to Google that you didn't answer the question. And so what you want to think about with your website content is writing content and having pages on your website that answer these types of questions and that relate to the things that people are searching for. So if you get a map of like, oh, wow, there are all these different ponds, and a huge pond is, you know, what do I need to do in advance to prepare, or like steps to adopt a dog or something like that. And that's probably not actually true, but let's pretend it is. It would be great to have an article that's all about preparing to adopt a dog. That will let you show your ads more often and get more people to your website. And then for each of these different pieces of content, you can have really targeted Google ads, basically ad groups that send people directly to the answer on your website that they are looking for. So this is the biggest difference between success and failure, is how many pages of content do you have that relate to things that people are actually searching for and that are relevant to your mission, which is sort of interesting. We have a free tool here called the website rubric. You don't even have to put in your email or anything. It's like super easy, and it will let you generate a website readiness score. It's just nonprofitmegaphone.com/website-rubric. And you'll see that the biggest component is the number of promotable pages you have on your website. So pages that are on a topic that people are searching for, that have, you know, at least a couple paragraphs of content, that are just on that one thing, so it's really clear, and that have some kind of next step that people can take. You always want to bring people to your website and then encourage them to take a next step. So that is hopefully a helpful resource. I'm going to go through a few just like quick questions that we get really commonly, just so we have them, and then we can jump into more Q&A. We've talked about this a little bit, but what types of nonprofits benefit the most? We would think of it in 3 categories. One, any nonprofit that needs to reach a large audience. So if you are trying to reach people nationally, internationally, that tends to work really well. The Google Ad Grant tends to be a massively cost-effective way to do that. And yeah, so national, international, widely applicable mission. Any nonprofit that has a revenue model that benefits from exposure, we've talked about this as well, but YMCAs, JCCs, Habitat Restores, you know, museums, orchestras, etc. That tends to work really well also. And then finally, any nonprofit that does not fall into the 2 of the above, but that lots of people are searching for. Animal organizations, a lot of people are searching for. Advocacy organizations, any type of topic that's just really important in society at a given time. Current events, anything that's related to current events, a lot of people will be searching for, and so forth. And certainly you don't have to fall into one of these. We have many, many clients that are not a perfect match for any of these in particular, but these are the types of organizations that'll often be really, really successful. Another fun question, do nonprofits spend the full $10,000? And the answer is that the vast majority do not, and that's actually okay. One of the interesting things is that everyone gets the same amount of money. It's always $10,000. And that's because Google basically does not have the capacity to individually tailor grants to individual organizations. They've said, let's make it easy. Let's just give everyone $10,000, knowing that that will probably be more than enough for 99% of all nonprofits. And that is great. Depending on your geography, like I'm in Chicago, let's say that you're just serving Chicago and you're serving a specific cause within Chicago, you can probably reach all of the people in Chicago that are searching for what you do with $4,000 a month or $3,000 a month, something like that. And that's okay, because that's the goal. You wanted to reach those people, you reached them, and you didn't spend all of the like monopoly money, and that's fine, because it doesn't really matter how much you spend. What matters more is what was the impact. And we call that conversions. What happened when people came to your website? Are they filling out forms? Are they watching videos? Are they signing up for stuff? Are they spending a lot of time on your website and really getting to know you? That's a much better indicator of success than how much of the fake money did you spend? As mentioned, it's more than enough, and most nonprofits will not need it. This is another resource that hopefully will be helpful. It is a free guide. If you type in, and I think you have to do HTTPS and then / nonprofitmegaphone.com/guide. It will just download a Word doc. It's like 20 pages long, very detailed. You don't have to put in your email or anything. And it goes into a lot more detail on everything we talked about, and also everything else that there is to do with Google Grant. So feel free to download that at your convenience. I'll give that just a second on the screen. Oh, thanks, Jenna. Okay. And you may need to do HTTPS. Thank you, Candace. Cool. Okay. That's what we've got. I know we have a lot of questions, so we can jump in. Let's see. Would it be best for me just to go through the Q&A?
Yeah, or I can pick out a few for you either way. But if anyone's jump out at you right off the bat, would love to have you just kind of take anything that you are really excited about answering.
Cool. Well, let me start with Addison. So we're a 501c3 with a charter school as one of our 3 entities. Are we ineligible? If you maybe send me your website. I'd be curious. It's just grant@nonprofitmegaphone.com, and I can have our grant acquisition team look at it. It depends, and it a little bit depends on how you're structured. If the charter school is a separate entity, you'd certainly be eligible. But let us look at it, because that is definitely a gray area. Gabby asks, when you apply, how long is the grant good for? It is good forever. It just goes on as long as you. And we'll talk about this a little bit, but as long as you are actively managing the account and keeping the account healthy, it'll just be $10,000 a month over and over again until the end of time. The Google Grant has been around for like 10 or 15 years already, and it just goes out into the future. Friends of Ag Foundation, how fast will you hear from Google Ad Grants? Typically, it takes just a couple days once you've actually submitted your real application. Depending on how backed up the team is, sometimes it can be a week or 2 weeks. Sometimes it can be like 48 hours, but typically a couple days. It doesn't take that long to hear back. Shelly asks, we lost our Google Grant because we hadn't used it. How can we get it back? We don't have a marketing or fundraising department, so I've taken over that on top of all. I know, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, 100%. One of the things about the Google Grant is that you do have to manage it actively. So you do have to be doing something in it at least like once a month, we'd say. If you don't do that for a really long time, Google will eventually send you warnings, and then they will what's called suspend, which is really pause your account. In that case, you can contact Google support and they can help you reactivate it. It's a little bit of a process, but it's definitely doable. And yeah, and then you'll just want to make sure that you're actively managing it going forward. It's funny, I'd say that half of our clients are organizations that have never had the ad grant before, and they're very excited to have it. And the other half are organizations that had it and are like, someone just needs to deal with this because I don't have enough time. So anyway, sorry about that, Shelley, but it is possible to get it back. Okay.
Lots of great questions.
Do you know how broad a geographic area Google ads are broadcast and published? Great question. You can choose. So you can say, I just want to target this city or these zip codes or these countries or the whole world. The way you're supposed to use it is only advertising to areas that your organization is relevant to. So, if you don't have any, if you're just in Chicago, for example, you probably want to target Chicago and not the whole country, but you can choose, which is very nice. And if you have different messages for different, geographies, because you're doing different work, you can customize that based on geography. With Google Grants, can an organization that is fiscally sponsored? Yes, so you can. The way it works with fiscal sponsorship is that your fiscal sponsor is technically is the nonprofit, and your organization is technically a program. So the fiscal sponsor itself can get it. They can only get it once, so they can't get it for each of the different organizations that they sponsor, but they can get it, and they could, give you access to it and let you use it to promote your website, certainly. So that's definitely an option. Sandra asks, is this less relational and more impersonal? We've developed a relational word. Would this take away? In my view, it certainly would not take away from anything you're doing. I think at the end of the day, the Google grant is a way to bring more people to your website. So if it seems like you would benefit from having more people come to your website and read the content that you have there and understand what your organization does, and that would be a positive, then I think the Google grant would certainly be a positive. Or if not, then I wouldn't worry about it at all. Basically, it's like, do you want more people coming to your website? And hopefully like getting involved with you from there. So that's cool though, that you built a very relational organization.
Yeah, there's also a bunch of questions coming in through the chat. I would encourage everyone to put them in the Q&A pane. It'll be a little bit easier for us to pick out those from there. But Gabby asked, how often can and should you adapt your ads?
Yes, I would. So ads typically take, in my experience, a couple of weeks to really get rolling and to give you a good sense of how they're going to do. So if you have an ad group, let's say we're back in our Adopt a Dog ad group, we have our 2 ads. When we do it, we actually do 3. So we have 3 ads that are running against each other. And after a couple of weeks, we will probably have a pretty good sense of which ad is outperforming and which ad is probably struggling. So what you could do at that point is pause the ad that's struggling and write a new one. And now you have a new 3-way race between your 3 ads. And then you can just do that over and over again. Pause the lowest performer, add a new one. And over time, your ads will, on average, get better and better, bring more and more people to your website. You don't have to do it every couple weeks, but every couple weeks is probably the minimum amount of time you'd want to allow just to have the ads get enough exposure to get a good sense for how they're doing. Yeah, and you can have hundreds of ads in your account. You can have thousands, you can have as many as you want on all those different topics.
Yeah, and I saw another question that was really about whether certain website platforms score better than others, like WordPress versus Wix. So Kelly said they're considering dropping their WordPress site in favor of Wix.
Yes. WordPress, Wix, Squarespace, all of those work totally fine. Some platforms are really difficult to work with. I wouldn't put any of those 3 in that category. Some platforms also make it difficult to do conversion tracking. So tracking, like when someone comes to your website, are they filling out a form? Are they downloading something? Are they watching a video? But WordPress, Wix, and Squarespace are all quite good at that. We use WordPress and we like it. Our view is that WordPress is like a little bit more customizable and Wix is a lot easier to manage. So depending on what you want, you can't really go wrong.
Yeah, awesome. And so I saw a few questions come in about religious organizations and seeing if they qualify for the grant as well.
Yes, religious organizations do qualify, including houses of worship. You have to be a 501c3. Houses of worship are tax exempt by default. Many of them have gone and done the extra step of just like formally qualifying for 501c3 status. So you will need to have done that. If you've not done it, it's not horribly difficult to do. But yes, houses of worship, religious organizations, faith-based are all totally eligible.
Awesome. Thank you. And then I think this is such a great question. Grace asked, what are your recommendations for learning how to find and implement keywords that will be the most successful for your organization?
Yes, there are 2 schools of thought on this. One school of thought is just try a lot of things because you have virtually unlimited budget and see what works and have that be your keyword research. Other people prefer to use, there's various tools. Google has keyword research tools inside of Google Ads. There are also external tools. My favorite of the external tools is called Spyfu, spyfu.com. And you can use it for free up to a certain number of searches, and then they have a paid plan. There's another tool called Answer the Public. which is good for, and it's free for researching questions that people might be asking. So like if you put in adopt a dog, it'll give you a whole bunch of questions that people are asking around that, which can be good for keyword research as well.
Yeah, awesome. I'm putting those links in the chat. We'll also try to include these in our official notes as well. So you can kind of rely on getting that if you're a part of VIP. And yeah, okay, awesome. Tons of other questions. Any more jump out at you that you want to take right away?
Let's see. As a startup nonprofit, who is the person on our team who should be our Google Grant specialist? I would recommend it being whoever is responsible for marketing or whoever is responsible for being the website. Often that will be the same person. And if you do have separate people, I would maybe have it be the website person actually, because it's nice for whoever's running the grant to be able to see, oh, a lot of people are searching for X. And so it would be great if we could add a page to the website about that. And if you're the Google Grant person and the website person, that can make it really easy. But it could be, could be any number of people. It could also just be the person that's most interested and you give it to them. With the grant, what are the expectations of the organization? Is this a grant for nonprofits to receive or a space to post grant options? So this is, the expectations basically are that you use the ad credit to promote the nonprofit work of your organization. You do not have to like post anything or like, put anything in your website about how you got it. You can basically just use it to run ads and promote your organization's work. Do ads have anything to do with your brand's organic SEO? Can they help or do they hurt? Basically, no. There are some like if you really delve into SEO, like some theories that maybe it like slightly improves, blah, blah, blah. The answer is basically no. They have no impact either way. It's almost like a firewall between the editorial team and the advertising team in a newspaper. So too in Google, there's a firewall between ads and organic, and the two realms do not impact each other at all. So you don't have to worry about it. Let's see. Do you ever work on Google Ads with nonprofit social enterprises that sell products on their website? Yes, we do. And they're some of our most successful clients, actually, because you're a nonprofit, so you're eligible, and you have a revenue model, which Google loves and which the Google Grant loves. And if you have products that people are searching for and that people really like, the Google Grant is a fantastic way. We have a number of organizations that are like fair trade, economic development type organizations where artisans produce products and then they sell them through the website. And the Google Grant has been extremely helpful for them because you just drive product sales and it makes a lot of sense for everyone. Let's see. Been given access. Given access to my organization's old Google Ad Grant account. There's a lot of ad groups that are no longer relevant. I would just pause them. You can pause or you can delete. And the only difference is that deleting is permanent and pausing can be undone. I would just pause them just in case you ever need them in the future. And I would just start from scratch. If they were created a really long time ago, they're probably in the old ad format, which isn't as good as the new ad format. And you may as well just wipe the slate clean if they're just totally not relevant anymore. Let's see.
So for someone new that's just getting started managing the ad grant, do you have any just like general tips? I think I've seen a few questions come in about people kind of new to the position and taking it over and trying to manage it for their nonprofit for the first time.
Totally. Yeah. The two things I would look at would be one, conversion tracking, which I guess we haven't talked about that much, is, and that's using Google Analytics or other tools like Google Tag Manager to track when someone comes to your website. Are they like filling out forms? Are they watching videos? Are they downloading reports? What are they doing? because that will ultimately tell you how successful the ad campaigns are being. And once that conversion tracking is set up, you'll be able to see it in Google Analytics, and you'll also be able to see it in Google Ads. And you'll be able to see at the campaign level, at the ad group level, at the keyword level, you know, this campaign, adopt animals, and this ad group, adopt dogs, and this keyword, adoptable dogs near me, produced one conversion over the last 30 days. And that was someone filling out the I want to adopt a dog form. And that will ultimately guide your efforts much more effectively towards optimizing what's working and then changing what's not working. The only other thing I would recommend, especially if you're sort of new to the account or the account's not much is happening, I would just add a bunch of ad groups. Like think of all the keywords you could possibly imagine, break them into little groups, and then create an ad group for each of those little groups, and see which ones of those work, and then do more in the area that seems to be working well.
Awesome. I mean, so many great tips here. There are so many questions. This is so awesome how much information people are really looking for with Google Ad Grants. I wanted to run through a few of them. Maria asked, can you talk about the $2 bid cap on nonprofits and any workarounds?
Yes, the $2 bid cap was absolute until 2018. After January of 2018, the way to get around the $2 bid cap is by using maximize conversions bid strategy, which is just one of the settings in your campaigns. You can say, how do you want the bidding to be done? Do you just want to bid a flat amount, or do you want to bid a dynamic amount based on how likely people are to convert? And if you use maximize conversions bidding, the $2 bid cap goes away, which is awesome. And it'll bid more aggressively if it feels like someone is likely to land on your website and actually do something productive. And that's, again, why setting up the conversion tracking is so helpful.
Yeah, awesome. And so I do want to say, you know, there's so many questions happening here. So I would encourage, if you don't get your question answered today, definitely follow up with Grant. You can reach Grant at his email, grant@nonprofitmegaphone.com, or you can always go to nonprofitmegaphone.com to explore tons of resources and also more about their services as well. So Hannah asked, how do you differentiate between ads within an ad group if they all use the same keywords?
How do you differentiate between ads in an ad group? So each of the keywords in an ad group would be closely related but different. And so you're trying to think about how would people phrase something differently, but trying to get at the same point. So someone searching adopt a dog, adoptable dogs near me, where to adopt a dog, they all have the same intention, and we can show them all the same ad, which is about like dog adoption near me. And then you sort of, you would then optimize the ad based on how well it's doing at getting those people to click and come to your website. I don't know if I'm missing your question, feel free to shoot a follow-up, but that is how I would approach it.
Yeah, amazing. So yeah, again, there's so many questions in the Q&A pane. This is fantastic. There is a couple of questions about hospital foundations, if those qualify, and if there's just any cost whatsoever about getting the ad grant.
Hospital foundations do qualify, and you'll just have to have a separate website or a separate part of the website that is just for the foundation and not for like the medical services of the hospital. But you do qualify, and hospital foundations that do, you know, research or have produced content or things like that can use the grant pretty effectively. And there's no cost. There's no cost at any point in the process to just like apply, and then you get the grant. You never put a billing method into Google Ads, so there's no way for you to ever get charged real money by Google, which is nice.
Yeah. And I think we have time for a couple more questions. So Shoshana asked, does someone need to be very tech savvy to know a lot about SEO to manage the grant well?
You don't have to know anything about SEO, which is nice. because it is SEO is sort of for the organic search results, and then this is for the ads that show up at the top of the Google page. Tech savviness can help because sometimes there will be things you'll want to tweak on your website, or sometimes people can feel like the Google Ads interface is maybe a little confusing, but it's definitely not. It's not like you're programming, you're not writing code or doing anything super technical. You're basically, using a website to put in keywords and write ads and have them show up. So I would say you can certainly do it even if you're not super tech savvy.
Yeah, awesome. Cool. So many great questions. There's been quite a few questions coming in about nonprofit Megaphone and what you all do, what your services look like, and some on pricing. And then I saw, actually, before maybe we get into that, one on any idea about ROI from Google Ad grants and things that you've seen in your experience.
Totally. Yeah. So to give the really quick moral of the story on nonprofit Megaphone, we do two things. One of those things is for organizations that want to manage the Google grant themselves. We try and do free resources like this presentation, like the guide, like the website rubric, totally free, no strings, take them and run. Other organizations say the Google Ad grant is awesome. We don't have the capacity to manage it internally. We want someone to do that for us, do all of the work. So apply, get it reactivated, manage our ad campaigns, write new ads every week, whatever it is. We want all of that to be taken care of. And we want to have check-in calls with you where we just hear about the progress. And, there's very little work on our side. That is our paid service where we manage the Google grant for organizations. For that, I'll just tell you, because it's the same for everyone, we charge $600 a month, which for some organizations is laughably low, and for some organizations is laughably high, which I apologize for on both ends of the spectrum. But that is sort of what we do. We have other things where we can help you with writing content as well, but the main thing is managing the Google grant and maximizing the value there. And to answer the ROI question, it's very different for each organization. The one thing we will say is that some organizations come to it and they say, your service costs $600 a month, so that's our real out-of-pocket cost. We want to make sure that we're getting at least $600 a month in donations, like directly through the ad grant. For the vast majority of organizations, that will not happen, just to set expectations. The Google grant is a great way to bring people to your website, to learn about what you do, to begin to get engaged, and then to allow you to nurture a relationship from there, and hopefully have those people eventually become donors. So it's more of a long-term play. It's definitely more of a marketing play versus like a pure fundraising, just because sadly, not enough people are searching for too much money, need to get rid of it. But it is a great way to build the audience that will eventually become your organization supporters down the road.
Yeah, definitely. It's all about kind of going back to the digital fundraising cycle I mentioned way earlier. So you need that huge audience. You need to reach that huge audience to get people that are interested and want to connect with your organization so that you can, later on convert them into donors. And so this is a huge part of that, and a huge opportunity for nonprofits is to really take advantage of that $10,000 grant. So I know we have a few more minutes. We can certainly go through more questions if you'd like. We'll just, we have about 5 more minutes, and then I'll make a few announcements, and I'll turn it over to our next panelist and next speaker who just joined. So.
Perfect. Okay, we'll grab a few more in the 5 minutes we have remaining. Jennifer asks, if you have retail attached to your nonprofit, can you advertise your products? And the answer is yes. If you have some kind of like retail or products that you sell, as long as the funds generated are used to promote your nonprofit mission, it's totally fine. Google doesn't want to be promoting like for-profit businesses, but I don't think, this is a conference for nonprofits. I don't think we're gonna have that problem. So that's totally fine. And, sustainable revenue streams like that are awesome. We talked about religious nonprofits, and yes, they are eligible. Let's see. Have you seen any, let's see, sorry. Multiple URLs for different organizations? Yes, you can use the Google Ad Grant for any URL that your nonprofit owns, not just your main website. And you can have, you can have 20 websites. Does your agency manage Google Ads for nonprofits? Yes. Let's see. Does Google want a website to be changing and robust to make you more attractive to them for a grant? So as long as you have a website that has content on it that talks about your mission, you will be eligible for the grant and you will receive it. So they're enforcing a minimum standard, but the minimum is pretty basic. Once you have the grant, adding more content to your website on topics that people are searching for will let you use more of the grant funds and make it more effective. But having like a beautiful 1,000-page website is not required by any means to get the grant in the first place.
I saw one question come in about, in your experience and in comparison to other nonprofits, how well does the Google grant work for cultural institutions such as museums and art galleries?
Great. Museums and art galleries would fall into the category of organizations where more people knowing about them drives the revenue model, which is nice, and organizations that can sell tickets, which are great. The nice thing too is that museums and art galleries often have different exhibits, and those are great things to advertise because there'll be people that are interested in a particular artist or in a particular era of history or things like that, and people Google that stuff and they're looking for it. They're just doing research. They're learning about a topic that they're passionate about. And it's a great way for you to show an ad that says like, oh, interested in XYZ, we have a great exhibition happening. Click here to learn more. So it can be very effective.
Yeah. And just in our last couple minutes here, I have one. I think this is a pretty good question. For a small nonprofit just starting out with Google Grants, how much time should we anticipate our web employee will spend per month on working with the Google Ad Grant?
It depends on how well you want to do it. I would say, I would recommend saying like carve out at least 10 to 15 hours a month, just because it's going to take some time, especially if there's a learning curve and you're sort of getting a sense for it. You could do much more than that if you wanted to, but I would say go into it with that as a minimum, and you'll make a really good starting point for yourself.
Yeah, awesome. And so, yeah, there's still a few more questions about kind of next steps in getting started with Nonprofit Megaphone. So yeah, just I would love to hear a little bit more about where people can go to sign up and get started with you. Looks like there's a lot of people interested in both your free resources and also getting you to manage the grant for them.
Absolutely. For free resources, our blog is just nonprofitmegaphone.com/blog, I believe. Lots of resources added every week. And then there's also the guide, nonprofitmegaphone.com/guide, which is great, like 20 pages long. For those that are interested in exploring maybe us helping you manage it, if you go to nonprofitmegaphone.com, there will be a button in the top right that says free consultation, which will open up a calendar where you can just book a time with our team for whenever would be convenient for you. I apologize that we've had sort of an influx, and so I apologize that I don't think that there are that many spots left next week, but there should be a good number the week after that, and really looking forward to chatting with you.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much, Grant. This has been fantastic. So much great information and so much great time to really go through so many questions. I know that there's still like 40 questions we didn't get to answer. So I encourage all of you that didn't get your questions answered, please feel free to reach out to Grant or, see about booking that free consultation, which will be so helpful for your organization to really get started. So thank you so much, Grant, for being here today. This has been so insightful. And yeah, thank you again.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us. And thank you, everyone. Thanks for the great questions.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so cool. I'm really excited to really get back to the rest of our programming today. Thank you all for being here and being so engaged. This has been so fantastic so far. So again, thank you to Grant.
That was incredible.
Yeah.
Blown away.
So So good. So good. I mean, the best part of this is you get to see how much people are engaged, and people from all over the world and all over different paths at different nonprofits, and all of their questions are so awesome and interesting. So thank you all for engaging.